Good day. So we're still talking about integration using U substitution. But this time, I want to look at some examples na definite integrals naman yung gagamitan natin ng technique na ito. So these are just 3 problems for this set of examples. Let me list them down. And again, what I want you to do is pause this video and try to answer these questions on your own. For this set of 3 examples, meron akong isang minark with an asterisk. So that is a particularly difficult problem or a challenging problem. Difficult not in the sense na magiging mahaba yung solution natin, pero may kailangan siyang insight that you have to come up on your own, no? Kasi first time natin siyang may encounter dito. So I'm rooting for you for that item, but if it gets too difficult, yan, balik lang tayo sa video at sagutan natin yan. So pause it now, and I'll wait. Okay, welcome back. So I hope ginawa nga natin yung exercise on our own. Sinubukan muna natin on our own para kung magkamali man, we could get that part out of the way. Yung nagkakamali tayo. Because that's fine. It's fine to make mistakes, lalo na pag bago yung topic. So let's start with the first example. We want to find the definite integral from -2 to 1 ni x plus 1 times the square root of x plus 3. So yung first step natin is mag-identify kung ano yung gagamitin nating u. And usually nga, siya yung nasa loob ng isa pang something. In this case, siya yung nasa loob ng square root. So we let u be equal to x plus 3 and du is just equal to dx. Kasi ang derivative ni x plus 3 with respect to x is just equal to 1. So du is equal to dx. Let's rewrite our integral. Ito yung given. Ang first na gagawin ko na kakaiba ay yung limits of integration, I will specify kung anong variable sila. In this case, x. Diba? Kasi tandaan natin na magpapalit tayo ng variable from x to u. And that includes the values on the limits of our integral. Kasi they're x values eh. Kailangan natin silang maisulat mamaya as u values. So I'm doing this to remind me that nasa x pa yung ating limits of integration. Let's take note of saan pa equal yung x. If u is equal to x plus 3, then x must be equal to u minus 3. Yung nasa loob nung radical, yun lang naman yung gagawin nating u eh. Yun yung u natin, x plus 3. Pero meron pa tayong x plus 1 sa labas. So yung x plus 1 sa labas, that is equivalent to u minus 3 plus 1. Kasi x is equal to u minus 3, di ba? And this is multiplied to the square root of u. Du. Kasi dx is just equal to du. Now, the next step is yun namang limits of integration natin. Ang isa-substitute natin, gagawin natin u. If x is equal to -2, then yung lower limit natin will be equal to x plus 3. U is equal to x plus 3. So -2 plus 3 will get u is equal to 1. Yung upper bound natin, yung upper limit, na originally x equals 1, if x equals 1, then u is equal to 1 plus 3 or 4. So napalitan na natin siya, yung limits of integration natin from x values into u values. And just continue on with the integrand. So sinimplify na natin, u minus 2 na yung first expression. Then we need to distribute yung square root of u dun sa dalawang factors. And we're using fractional exponents na. So we'll have our next step as the definite integral from 1 to 4 ni u raised to 3 halves minus 2 times u raised to 1 half. We apply the power rule to get the following. So u raised to 5 halves times 2 over 5 minus u raised to 3 halves times 2 thirds. Tas may 2 pa sa unahan kaya naging 4 thirds. This will be evaluated from 1 to 4. So at this point, you might guess that the next step ay back substitution na. Kasi na-evaluate na natin integral eh. Babalik na tayo dapat sa x. Pero note natin, no, na yung limits of integration natin, yung -2 to 1, switch na rin natin sila sa u eh. So do we actually need to back substitute? Hindi na. Kasi we could just evaluate our result using yung bagong limits of integration, yung 1 to 4. And that should work. So, hindi ko na to iisa-isahin. This can be done by a calculator. Confirm nyo na lang na magiging tama yan. But you should get your final answer to be 46 over 15. Hindi na masyadong interesting yung final result, no? It's really more on the technique and making sure na yung limits of integration natin ay naisama nyo dun sa pag-switch from x papuntang u. So again, I'm hoping that we arrive at the same result. Let's move on to the next example. We want to find the definite integral from 0 to pi over 2 ni sine cube x times cosine x. Again, yung first task natin ay pag-identify kung ano yung u, at usually siya yung nasa loob ng isa pang expression. So here we observe that si sine nasa loob siya ng pangko-cube. Kinu-cube siya. So that makes it a good candidate for u. So let u be equal to sine x. Ang derivative ni sine ay cosine. So du is equal to cosine x dx. So we're ready to rewrite our expression. Again, for the first instance, sinusulat ko na x equals 0 to x equals pi over 2. So I will not forget kung nasaang variable ako. This is equal to u cubed du. So you can see that's a nice power expression na madaling kuhanin yung antiderivative. But let's not forget na idamay muna yung limits of integration. So at x equals 0, u is equal to sine 0. And at x equals pi over 2, then our u is equal to sine pi over 2 ni u cubed du. Okay? Ni u cubed du, which is equivalent to u raised to 4 over 4 evaluated from 0 to 1. So medyo madali na yun. That's equal to 1/4 minus 0 or 1/4. We highlight this as our final answer and we'll compare. Again, hindi na natin kinailangang mag-back substitute. So at this point, we could say that we'll only back substitute if we are dealing with antiderivatives or indefinite integrals. Pag definite integrals, pag dinamay na natin yung limits sa paglipat from x to u, hindi na natin kailangang mag-back substitute. So let's move on to our last problem, the challenge problem. So I'm not sure if you are able to answer this. If you did, ang galing nyo. Kasi you were able to make that jump na i-explain ko pa lang ngayon. So as usual, ang first step natin ay maghanap ng inner function. And you might observe that yung 4 minus square root of x ay nasa loob siya ng isa pang square root. Well, baka maisip nyo na yung x nasa loob siya ng square root, so gagawin kong u equals x. Wala namang point, no, na magsasubstitute tayo ng variable na yun pa rin siya. We don't let u be equal to x. So, dun tayo sa next. We try to let u be equal to 4 minus square root of x. And this is a logical choice kasi nasa loob siya ng square root eh. But if you take the derivative of 4 minus square root of x, you'll get that the derivative is negative 1 over 2 square root of x. And let's not forget yung dx. And hindi tayo pwedeng magpasok ng 1 over 2 square root of x sa tabi ng dx at magmumultiply ng similar expressions sa labas. Kasi andun pa rin yung variable. You might try siguro na ipasok siya sa loob. But at some point, I think you will get stuck. Kasi kung hindi, then it wouldn't be a challenge problem. It wouldn't be that difficult, no? Kung it's that straightforward. So let's come up with another approach. Isip ako ng ibang u. Well, actually, wala naman akong maiisip na ibang u. Kasi ang pinaka-logical talagang gamitin na u na isi-simplify yung expression natin into something familiar is yung 4 minus square root of x. Ang babaguhin natin ngayon ay yung paraan kung paano hanapin yung du. So if u is equal to 4 minus square root of x, this means that square root of x is equal to 4 minus u. Now gusto kong palabasin si x. So I'll take the square of both sides and get the expression that x is equal to u squared minus 8u plus 16. Now instead of looking for du over dx, ang gagawin natin ay kukunin ko yung derivative with respect to u. So dx over du. So derivative with respect to u, yung right side magiging equal kay 2u minus 8. Diba? If we take a derivative with respect to u. So dx over du is equal to 2u minus 8, or dx is equal to 2u minus 8 times du. So instead na maghahanap tayo ng expression na imamatch kay dx para maging du siya, nakahanap tayo ng expression for dx mismo. So we don't need to change yung dx anymore. It's just dx. So let's do the substitution now. Again, I'm using x equals 0 and 2x equals 9 to emphasize na hindi pa ako nagpapalit ng limits of integration ko. This is our expression, square root of u. And square root of u is equal to square root of 4 minus square root of x. Now, ang kasunod dito ay dapat dx na, di ba? But dx is equal to the quantity 2u minus 8 du. So, let's write it down. So, ayan na. We have our integral in terms of u. Yung last step na lang na natitira ay yung limits of integration ibabalik natin or dadalhin natin kay u. At yung ating conversion na natabunan sa taas, just recall it sa right side, u is equal to 4 minus square root of x. So, if x equals 0, then u equals 4. If x equals 9, then u is equal to 4 minus square root of 9 or 4 minus 3 or 1. Then we distribute the square root, we'll get 2 times u raised to 3 halves minus 8 times u raised to 1 half. We apply the power rule, we'll get u raised to 5 halves times 2 over 5 times 2, kaya may 4 over 5 sa unahan. You get u raised to 3 halves times 2 thirds times negative 8, kaya naging negative 16 over 3. We are evaluating this from 4 to 1. So, alam natin na pwede naman natin gawin to kahit mas malaki yung lower limit sa upper. Parang nag-integrate lang tayo from right to left. So, parang negative lang siya ng 1 to 4. So, it's not a problem. So, evaluating, we'll get, at this point, pwede na natin itong i-calculator. So, I will not take up a lot of time dun sa computation. No? And actually, the final result is 188 over 15. Again, the number itself is not very interesting other than that we have a rational number at the end. I think the more interesting part is kung paano natin nahanap yung variables na gagamitin natin for the substitution. So, that's not as straightforward as the other examples, but it's possible na instead of taking du over dx, you could take dx over du if that is more feasible. So, that's one more technique to add to our list of techniques. So I hope na hindi tayo na overwhelmed with this lesson, with u substitution. And I hope then na it was as fun for you as I had fun discussing it. At salamat sa pakikinig.